and welcome to LTV News. I'm Nada Marche and these are the day's top stories. Clashes have broken out between riot police and demonstrators outside Egypt's presidential palace. A bushfire threatens homes near Lane Cove National Park in northern Sydney. And former Colombian national team goalkeeper Miguel Calero has died. Starting off with some news from the Middle East. Further clashes have broken out between riot police and demonstrators outside Egypt's presidential palace. The protesters are demanding that the country's leader Mohamed Morsi reverse a recently enacted law giving him immunity for the country's judiciary. The following report has more of the details.
Dozens of demonstrators protesting against Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi pitched tents outside the presidential palace in Cairo early this morning. The demonstrators are preparing to sleep outside the palace after a day of countrywide protests demanding the president recall a recent decree that expanded his powers, making him immune from judicial review. Minor clashes erupted during the early hours of the demonstration before the complete withdrawal of riot police from the area. While demonstrations escalated to the presidential palace, a protest camp in Tahrir also remained active after thousands of Egyptians poured onto the square on Tuesday night. Morsi has said the powers are only temporary, but it seems for now that's not good enough for many, who say he must reverse the law immediately.
Israel has announced that it will continue to plan to build more settlements in East Jerusalem despite receiving global criticism. The builds, which are deemed illegal under international law and threaten to split the West Bank into two, are now also becoming a major stumbling block for the continuation of a peace talk.
Despite growing diplomatic pressure from other nations, Israel continues settlement construction plans as a means of punishment towards the Palestinian Authority amid its recent status upgrade in the United Nations. The fireworks and celebrations were dampened by the Israeli government's announcement that came within 24 hours of the UN bid. At the end of last month, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, announced that Tel Aviv will continue building in Jerusalem and all other areas deemed to lie in the state of Israel's strategic interests. In this case, the strategic interest is a plan for building 3,000 settlement units in the West Bank, East Jerusalem and the controversial E1 stretch of land connecting them. Building here would effectively cut off Palestinian centers, dashing plans for a future state. In 2010, settlement activities, which are deemed illegal under international law, brought peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians to a halt. The announcement created an uproar in the international. This recent announcement has created uproar in the international community as political leaders from Asia to Europe condemned the move, and its longtime ally, the United States, urged Israel's government to reconsider.
That is quite dangerous and threatening to peace.
Syrian state TV has released images of what it says shows aftermath of a mortar attack by Syrian rebels. The blast struck a school near Damascus, killing 9 students and their teacher. The suburbs of Damascus, a rebel stronghold since the uprising against President Assad began in 2011, have witnessed heavy fighting since last week after the army fought to regain lost territory around the capital. The situation in Syria has deteriorated in recent days, prompting the UN to order all non-essential international staff out of Syria and halting aid missions outside Damascus. Moving on to world news. Some of Somalia's most senior MPs have survived bomb and gun attacks by Islamist rebels. The attack, which took place outside the country's capital, have further highlighted how unstable Somalia is. Now some in the government are arguing to the rebels to switch sides.
Somali ministers have escaped several Al-Shabaab ambush attacks on their way to the port town of Moqara, just 45 miles off the capital Mogadishu. Caught in the surprise attack were the Somali defense and home ministers alongside a number of security officers. Senior security officials twice survived such ambushes by Al-Shabaab rebel fighters. Both the Somali security forces and the African Union troops are combating the guerrilla-style attacks. MP Abdul Hakim Fiki reiterated calls to Al-Shabaab fighters to heed the standing amnesty appeal and switch allegiances. Al-Shabaab fighters gave in to mounting pressure by ceding control of major towns, but have since resorted to suicide and guerrilla attacks.
Japan's government deployed Patriot advanced capability-free interceptors to southern Japanese islands ahead of North Korea's planned rocket launch. A Japan Self-Defense Force vessel carrying the ground-based PAC-3 missiles and related radar systems arrived at the port of Ishiki-gali Island. North Korea's state news agency announced last week that a plan to launch another space satellite between December the 10th to December the 22nd. The announced flight path is similar to the earlier failed launch in April this year. Emergency services in Australia have been battling a fire in the city of Sydney as fears grow that nearby homes may be soon engulfed. The blaze has so far shut down nearby roads, and authorities say that the fire was caused by someone intentionally.
This bushfire is threatening homes near Lane Cove National Park in northern Sydney, Australia. Firefighters are working to contain the blaze as heavy smoke billows close to the city's motorways, causing traffic problems. Local media reported that a spokesperson from the Rural Fire Services said the fire was deliberately lit. Elsewhere, even though the ski season is well and truly over, Falls Creek in the southern state of Victoria is seeing snowfalls on the 5th day of summer. It's reported that temperatures dropped to 1.7 degrees Celsius and about 6 centimeters of snow has fallen.
Now for some sports news. Former Colombian national team goalkeeper Miguel Calero died after suffering a cerebral thrombosis in late November. Calero had been declared brain dead on Monday night. Dr. Antonio Torres Mendoza, Pachuca's medical director, confirmed to journalists that Calero has passed away. The 41-year-old left soccer for 6 months after suffering a thrombosis in his left arm in September 2007, but soon recovered and returned to play at Pachuca until his retirement as a player in September 2011. After his retirement, Calero remained as a goalkeeping coach at Pachuca. Adam Melling won the $250,000 World Cup of Surfing at Sunset Beach, Hawaii, which is exactly what was needed to retain a position on the ASP World Tour for 2013. Melling found himself in the final against Sebastian Zietz, the recent winner of the Reef Hawaiian Pro. He was up against wall, knowing that he needed to win the second to get his points he needed to requalify. But glassy smooth 6 to 8 foot surf prevailed, and so did Melling's powerful level of performance. He shot from third to first, but with seconds remaining, Medina paddled into game changer and barreled and clearly excited. Melling was left floating, waiting for Medina's score to drop. Now let's take a look at the world of arts and culture. One of Japan's top kabuki actors died after a 4-month battle against cancer. Kanzaburo Nakamura, a blue blood of the traditional theatre, was diagnosed with cancer earlier in June and operated successfully in July. The operation was not without complications, and he contracted pneumonia as a consequence. He had been in and out of hospital ever since and died early on Wednesday at the age of 57. His flamboyant and impassioned advocacy for his art form was well known. Born in 1955, he joined the world of kabuki at age 3, following the footsteps of his grandfathers. He took the stage name of Kanko Nakamura at his first performance and then officially inherited the name Kanzaburo in 2005. Matt Damon finds a new writing partner for his new film Promised Land. The Oscar-winning screenwriter teamed up with actor John Krasinski to pen a film about a small Pennsylvania town in economic decline, fighting to keep cooperative outsiders from drilling on in their land. The screenplay is based on a story by author Dave Eggers. Damon and Krasinski wrote the script in between working on separate projects, and controversy has been surrounding the film due to its central theme of hydraulic fracturing, also known as fracking. The process causes the release of natural gas after drilling and injecting of fluid into the ground with force in order to release the gas from featured shale rocks. That's all we have time for today, but before we go, let's take a look at today's top stories. Clashes have broken out between riot police and demonstrators outside Egypt's presidential palace. A bushfire threatens homes near Lane Cove National Park in northern Sydney. And former Colombian national team goalkeeper Miguel Calero has died. Thank you for watching. For more information, do visit our website at www.levant.tv. Join us tomorrow at the same time, and until then, from all of us here at LTV News, goodbye.